Hey guys, John back here again out in the barn. I ended up getting a part in for this bad boy. Got a fresh OEM Polaris timing chain, and yes, my predictions were correct. That lovely thing set me back 90 bucks. And since it was likely one of the problems that caused the first failure, I didn't want to chance it. I'm putting all this money into this thing. I might as well do a good job, right? So I'm gonna sit back down for a little bit and I'm gonna put this chain on and see what else I can get done tonight. You saw me putting the chain on. Struggled a little bit to get it over some of the teeth, but I finagled it around and got it to go on. It seems fine. I rotated it around several times. You guys saw that. I went ahead and put the rocker arm assembly on there. So I got my valves opening and closing. I ran it around a couple revolutions there. Made sure everything spun freely with no binding. And everything seems good. I want to go ahead and adjust my valve clearance. Right now, while it's easy, you always want to do it with a cold engine because the clearance is there, so when it warms up it comes down as close to zero as possible. So always do your clearance setting cold. I'm going to do that. I'm going to figure out how to set up this manual chain tensioner. I've never done one of these before. The factory one was hydraulic, like automatic chain tensioner. So, and you just kind of put it in there, forget it. This one came with a manual one. I'm gonna figure out how to set it up and try and do that now, and then I can start closing up some of these holes on this engine and covering some stuff up. The other thing that you guys saw me do right there was I went back over the head studs. The torque spec that I was doing in the last video was wrong. It was the same spec as the cylinder to the case, and the head had a whole sequence where you had to tighten it down, loosen it back up, get the bolts off of the surfaces again, crank them to 11 foot-pounds, and then go 90 degrees on each one, and then another 90. So I went and did that, got them all where they're supposed to be. Things are coming together, so I'm gonna keep plowing on this thing until I get sick of it. Feeler gauge. Clearance spec is 6 thousandths for intake and exhaust valves. A single cylinder, these are really loose anyway. You guys probably heard me say that in the first video, but anyway, a single cylinder engine's pretty easy to determine where your adjustments need to be made. You just find top dead center where all 4 valves are closed, like right now. And there you can see the exhaust side open up. Keep going around, you get the intake opening up. That'll close up. There was a little compression release there. You can see the exhaust rocker move a little bit. But you can try and find TDC, you can look at the timing marks, you can put a screwdriver in there and lightly turn it over so you don't bend your screwdriver. On any engine, what I usually do if I don't know and I don't want to look it up, because I got no internet out here, is I'll go until the exhaust valve is opening like that, and the intake valve should be closed and the exhaust valve is open. So exhaust opening, intake is closed. When the intake valves are opening, the exhaust valve should be closed. You just use your eyes and look at what the things are doing, and you can usually figure out when you need to make your adjustments. So that, I can tell you right now, is way more than 6 thousandths. So more last guy's stuff. He was here, he had his fingers in everything. So I stick the feeler gauge in there and I can still bounce this thing up and down. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my adjustments. All 4 of them go to 6/1000ths. So hang tight while I make a little valve clearance adjustment. So good. Valve clearances adjusted to 6/1000ths. Took my time. Only got 1 cylinder to worry about, and you might as well do a good job. Do the best job you can. You're always supposed to do a good job, okay? Made a few good, easy revolutions. I don't have the plug in yet, so there's no compression buildup, but the thing's turning over freely. The valves are opening, closing, hopefully sealing. It was used, so we can only hope that the last engine this thing was on was running like the ad on eBay said. But there's only one way to find out, and you guys are watching it. So we're gonna get this thing running. Whether it runs, we're trying to do it right, so this thing should run just fine. I think the last guy to rebuild this thing did it cheap and terrible. So if you're out there, guy, I'm sorry, but you didn't know everything that you should have known when you went into this thing. I think my next deal is going to be putting the not the auto tensioner, the manual tensioner in. I'm going to put it in and just kind of like set it right on the tensioner shoe, because I guess you're supposed to adjust them with the engine running by ear, so we'll figure that out when we get to it. But just to keep the guide from flopping around and bouncing away from the chain, keep the chain from slapping around, I think we'll be fine for a start, and we'll adjust it on the fly. I've done it with, I guess I have done it with some old Honda motorcycle stuff and just kind of forgot until I started describing it to you guys. So that might come back like riding a bike, so we'll see. I think I'm going to start putting covers on too and getting this thing like covered up and sealed back up. And boy, that's going to feel really good, because this thing's just been sitting here crying tears of oil on the ground for months. And I'm about to start crying real ones if I don't close this thing up soon. So let's get to doing some of that stuff. Started to get a little bit bored and I ran into a problem. Let me show you what it is. I went to put the valve cover on right there, and all the holes lined up and everything. I got a new gasket here, but it wasn't going down. Didn't want to go down all the way, so pulled it back off. Had all the bolts threaded, started in, and it wouldn't drop down. what I learned was the studs are too long, then they're hitting the inside of the valve cover. So I gotta figure out what the best thing I can do here is. I'm gonna do a little research and see if anybody else ran into such a problem and go from there. But I did get some other stuff put together, like the side cover over the cam sprocket. I got the stator put on and the flywheel, a couple coolant hoses hooked up. I got the tensioner on there set like at kind of a neutral point. I put the motor mount on right here. Well, I had room before I got the tensioner in there, so everything was clear, good clearance. Getting things put back together a little bit. I need to come up with a gasket for the recoil. That was all covered in cheese whiz. I don't want to reuse it, and I don't want to see any of that orange crap on this thing when I'm done. So I need to get a recoil gasket. Need to figure out this valve cover deal, and then we kind of have everything we need. I need to pick up a couple little copper washers for the oil pressure lines on the other side near the oil filter. I'll have to get those, but little progress tonight. Feels pretty good. I think we're going in the right direction. The biggest snag is going to be those head bolts, so I'll tune back with you guys next time, whenever that is. It might be in the same video, I don't know. But either way, I'll see you guys either in a little bit or a little while. Hey guys, it's the next evening. I went in there and I ordered a new gasket for the recoil. $8 on Amazon. More nickels and dimes we're throwing at this thing. But I decided that with the head stud issue and with a little research that I was going to remove the studs and put the old bolts back in. And the consensus was if they inspect okay and there's no signs of stretching, that we can reuse them. So I'm gonna look at them real quick. I don't suspect any issues, but kind of don't have a choice because I don't really want to cut those studs shorter and make a big mess inside the engine, and I don't want to take them out, put them back in, and cut off the tops because then I lose the little Allen key drive in the top. It's just, I'm going for the easiest solution here, so I'm gonna put the old head bolts back in one at a time. Follow the recommended torque procedure one at a time so I don't upset that head gasket, and keep putting it back together. I'm gonna put the valve cover back on. Might clean up the exhaust and paint it because it looks ridiculous. It's all rusted. Throw some barbecue paint on it or something and keep trucking on this thing. So enjoy. Every bolt removed, the studs are removed one at a time, bolts installed, torqued to factory spec one at a time. I'm happy. Hopefully I don't have to do that again, but anyway, she's ready for probably a valve cover. I am going to make sure the engine rotates. I've just been doing that as I go because you don't want to do one thing and then realize it doesn't rotate and then not know what you did to change that. So I'm gonna roll it over here a minute. Everything seems to be moving freely. There's no compression yet because I don't have to plug in again. But we're pretty free rolling, so pretty happy about that. I'm gonna go ahead and throw the valve cover on. I'm gonna leave the recoil off, not necessary. I guess the starter needs the support of it. There's a little starter drive piece that it holds together. I'm more concerned with assembly at this point. I want to get the manifolds put on. I might dink around throwing some paint on that exhaust just to make myself feel better. And then once I get the engine closed up, I'm gonna shove some rags in the holes that matter and power wash this thing like there isn't a tomorrow. Degrease while all the plastics are off. Gonna get as clean as I can with everything off. So hopefully it turns out pretty good. Everything looks pretty, like there's paint on everything, it's just dirty. So you guys can see what's happening there. It's just dusty and nasty. So there's the new part of the engine is pretty obvious. So rebuild, Craigslist rebuild. This ain't. We're spending all the money we'd spend on Craigslist on a whole new car on this stupid thing. So just gonna keep doing one thing at a time until we got something. I'm on the other side of the machine now. I'm gonna do what I can over here. Just looking around, I got this radiator hose right here, right onto the thermostat housing. Doesn't want to go on very well. There we go. Grab a screwdriver for that. Never walk away from a clamp that ain't tight unless the hose is off. You'll understand why if you do it someday. Don't recommend trying it. Alright. Radiator hose clamp is on. This is the coolant temp sensor right there, plugged in. I've got these little banjo bolts down here for the oil feed and return. They didn't If you remember back in the day of the first video, or first or second, these washers, a couple of them weren't even there, and the ones that are there are pretty smashed. So I'm gonna take one of these banjo bolts at some point and get some sealing washers. I found one copper washer, but that ain't gonna do us. So I'll probably stock up on some of that stuff. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw the oil filter on while I'm staring at it. Fresh OEM Polaris filter. Put the oil right here too. I'm gonna leave that there as a reminder. Get a load of this here. After I put the plug in, I rolled her over to see if it had compression. Ooh. Oh, and it does. It's a good sign. You can feel the compression release hit too. So, actually another good sign. I think I'm gonna cap it off there tonight. Got as far as I could with what I have. Need a couple washers. What else did I need? That's it. Oh, and a gasket. I'm gonna call it a night. I just had a little tinker night out here, so thanks for watching, guys. Hey guys, I'm back out in the barn. Probably, I don't know, within a week since the last time I got on here. I'm out here. I'm gonna put down another little bit on this project here, the Polaris Sportsman. Let me show you guys what I got to move me along this time. I've got one gasket for the recoil / starter support cover, side cover. And I went by the hardware store and I got 4 little copper washers that fit these banjo bolts, and those go on the oil lines. Bees, I have bees flying around here. Anyway, what I want to get done is I want to put this stuff on the bike, on the quad, whatever. And I would like to get my exhaust pieces sandblasted. And I picked up a little sandblaster. I want to try it out. I'm just going to blast it out in the gravel driveway and see what happens. Got some grill paint to paint the exhaust, hopefully make it look a little nicer than rusty brown. So you guys get to watch. Ooh. That's not great. Compressor won't turn on. Maybe it was on before, I don't know. I put that switch in there and I don't know which way is which, so let's see if we got air pressure. Looks like it was on the whole time. All right, y'all, I just went on a little Wi-Fi walk to see what it takes to change oil on one of these things, and I learned that it's very simple. Watch this. Well, watch me explain it first. I got a dipstick right here. It tells me how much oil's in this tank. It's a dry sump system. There's a drain plug down here for the tank. Real simple. And then I was gonna look and see if there was a drain on the bottom of the crankcase, because I would really like to well, I don't know if it's too late at this point, but flush some crap out of the bottom of that crankcase, just in case there's any debris under there from the failure. And I'm gonna look up here if there's like a PCV hose, or I could put it right in there. Could put it right in the chain tensioner hole, and then it would end up flowing down and flushing out through the bottom of the crankcase. So I might start by pulling the tensioner back off, pour some oil down there. I got some of this old oil that I've got sitting around, some nice oil, but I didn't use all of it, so I'll dump some of that down there and see what happens. Yeah, let's find out. This is all new to me too. It's a hot one out here today, so it ain't hydration, but it's motivation, right? We'll crack open one of these. Oh, not sponsored. Oat sodas, and try and make this a little more tolerable out here. Well, I found the drain plug for the sump. Somebody done buggered her up, bud. So let me see if that comes loose. If it don't come loose, it is what it is. We're gonna run this thing, right? You guys want to see something blow up, don't you? I don't. Let's see if this thing doesn't just strip out, round off, whatever you want to call it. Ooh, that thing is on there tight. If it's that tight, man, I don't know. I think the last guy did the damage on this one. Yeah. I think she's dickered. Oh well. Oh hey, look what I found. I'm speechless. Alright, man, let's get this oil out of here. Sick of thinking about it. Let's see how big of a mess we can make while we're at it. That's what this whole thing's all about, is making messes on your floor. As big as you can. You can do this without making a mess. Make a lot of money. This stuff that just came out of here. It's like, it's some water, man. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I should have pulled this plug a long time ago, but I might just dump a little oil in there and let her flush out, and maybe it'll get another oil change for 50 bucks. Hey, loving this thing so far. My wallet's just, I can barely feel it. It's so light. Yeah, I think she's gonna see another oil change. Maybe I'll use some different oil and then change it again with the Polaris oil. Let's see what I got kicking around. Ooh, yuck. Look at that. Bunch of stuff. Ooh, gross. It's on the magnetic drain plug. Guess it's doing its job. So I think I'm gonna put this back. I'm gonna get some oil. I got some Rotella. We'll break it in on that. And then change it again. $13.58, huh? I can get one of those at work, so maybe I'll grab a $13.58. Ooh, geez, who put that on? Break it. Oh wait, that was me. There we go. I'm gonna save this for later. I'm gonna get a $13.58 from work. I'm gonna put 2 quarts of Rotella in there so I don't forget. And I'm gonna call it a night. Check out my channel for more videos on this old thing. But here's what I need. Should have a few quarts left over from when I did an oil change on this thing. So I've got 3 quarts left, so I'll dump it in up to 1. Or not the overfiller. Well, it's 1 quart. Well, that's about it. See what the dipstick says, Jimmy. Sure, we gotta wipe both ends. We made a real mess out of this one. Well, we're pretty full, but I think it's got to run a little bit, get circulated. System takes 2 quarts, so it's all in there. I end up cranking on it a little bit with a new filter and see what happens. Maybe, well, it's gonna run. Whether it blows up or not, we don't know that yet. All right, guys, I'm calling it a night. I think I got enough for a decent video on this thing. I'm hot, I'm tired, I'm done. I worked all day. Work more tonight. I'm not into that kind of thing, so take one good look at her. Next time you see it, it might be running, might be throwing rod too, I don't know. We'll both get to see it, but I'll see it first because I'm here. Anyways, thanks guys for watching. Appreciate it all. Thanks for listening to my weird banter and whatnot. I'm just talking to myself. Most of the time this happens inside my head. I get to let it out, so appreciate it. Till next time.